Thanks. That's all.
Welcome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Please remain seated. Thank you. Let me start. First of all, I want to thank Matthias Ado for making it all the way from Abuja to be part of this. I live in Lagos, so it wasn't too much of a struggle to be here. And contrary to what was announced, I've lived in Lagos for over 10 years, so I'm a true eco boy. I have been asked to discuss our diversity, strengths and weaknesses. But when I was doing my research on the topic, I found out that truly we do have some weaknesses in diversity. But I believe that we should not focus on them. We must focus on our strengths and ensure that we achieve what we want to achieve with regards to the unity of this country. But the unity of this country is not going to be achieved if we do not find the reasons why we can appreciate our diversity. So, again, my name is Ahmed Buhari. I'm the MD, CEO of Skylar Incorporation. Skylar has been in existence for about 5 years now. It's a company that was designed to, as much as possible, house a lot of young people who are waiting to get jobs in bigger companies, and for the ones that we find very appropriate, we do employ them. We run a hub with over 100 employees. Down here you see the leadership, the leader of the Reformation movement. Well, the Reformation movement is a movement that we started off 3 years ago as well. It was started because we were truly discontented, we were truly upset, and we noticed our country wasn't headed anyway. So what the Reformation intends to achieve is to awaken the consciousness in the hearts of the Nigerian youth, to make them start believing in themselves, and then let them start seeing that there's a need for them to participate in active politics. Not just active politics, but prepare yourself for leadership. So, like it was discussed earlier, are you prepared? Are you ready? Do you just want to hold on to power because you've seen a lot of people holding on to power? And more than anything else, what frightens me the most is, if we do not step forward, those people that my colleague talked about will prepare their own people to fill in those spaces, and it will be business as usual. Again, oh yes, and there's a Buhari attached to my name. I'm not in any way related to the current president. I'm from Kwantagora, Niger State, and I'm very proud of my name. Thank you. Cultural diversity. So even though the topic was our diversity, strengths and weaknesses, I decided that we focus on our cultural diversity, because that cultural diversity is what truly defines us. What is cultural diversity? It's a quality of diverse or different cultures as opposed to monoculture, the global monoculture, or homogenization of cultures akin to cultural decay. It goes further to say the phrase cultural diversity can also refer to having different cultures respect each other's differences, which is exactly how countries that have moved on, relate with each other. It doesn't matter where you're from, your sex, your race. It's about working together for a common goal. As we proceed, you will get to understand what the common goal is. So in most cases, globalization is often said to have a negative effect on the world's cultural diversity. So let's look at what globalization is all about. So globalization is the increasing interaction of people through the growth of international flow of money, ideas, culture. Globalization is primarily an economic process of integration, which has social and cultural aspects as well. It involves goods and services and economic resources of capital, technology, and data. If you notice, I try to understand what has happened on the global stage, and from the Second World War to now, we've had a relative calm with regards to international fightings, with regards to international wars. And it's because after the Second World War, countries decided to sit down and agree to intertrade, interrelate, and have commonness in how they relate with each other. When you know that you benefit from the next man, and he benefits from you, In most cases, no matter how bitter the fight gets, you always want to resolve it. Again, unfortunately, it's how the politicians in Nigeria actually run themselves. They ensure that no matter how dirty their fight gets, no matter how rough it gets, they always find a way to remedy the situation so that they can continue stealing from all of us. And so, just want to run through how Nigeria has evolved. After amalgamation in 1914, we were broken down into 4 territorates: northern, western, mid-western, and eastern region. And at 1976, we were broken down into 12 states. 1987, it became about 21 states. And as you can see, by 1996, we had 30 states. Today, we have about 36 states, which the political arena has actually subdivided into 6 regions, which of course is the Northwest, the Northeast, the North Central, the Southwest, the Southeast, and the South-South. All of that was done because they kept on trying to find a way where people would find the commonness in themselves and hopefully distribute the wealth so that we get to the bottom. But one thing they have failed to understand is, you do not do the top to bottom approach. It has to be the bottom to top approach. And that is why we stand that local governments should truly be strengthened, because that is what is closest to the people. Some facts about Nigeria before we move too far. We have about 774 local governments. Those are things we already know. We have over 520 spoken languages. Yes, it's a problem, but we can use it to our advantage. The official language is English, which was chosen to facilitate cultural and linguistic unity of the country by the colonialists. We also have religion, which is a major factor in how we deal with ourselves. So the major religions happen to be Christianity, Islam, there's traditional religion, and of course some other minorities. Political parties have also become a new sphere where people focus and decide where they want to tend to. So I also think it's important we look at political parties and how they've affected most of the decisions we've made in the country. So, again, I don't know how true this figure is because no proper data has been taken, but Wikipedia says we're about 186 million people. If we are truly 186 million people, it is scary, but then we can actually use it to our benefit. How can we use it to our benefit is the question. The only way we can use it to our benefit is if we critically look at the fact that we have 186 million people and now start thinking of how we can redistribute them and ensure that we meet with their needs. But that essential element is missing, which of course is data mining, and data collation. So, benefits of our diversity. There are many benefits. Sometimes when I try to study the country, I see that the diverse cultural perspectives can inspire creativity and drive innovation, which happens mostly during sports. When there's a sporting event, nobody is worried about whether the guy with the strongest leg is from the south-south, or the guy with the longest leg is from the north, or the guy with the biggest bicep is from the west. It doesn't matter. We just want to have everybody to ensure that we are successful. Local market knowledge and insight makes business more competitive and profitable. So I'll take an example with the Ikorodu market. So you go to Ikorodu market and you see foodstuff, cash crops, fruits, everything from all over the country coming down to Lagos to be sold. At that point in time when we go to the market, we're not concerned whether we're buying from a Hausa man, a Fulani man who's bringing his cattle, or an Igbo man who's brought in fruits from the east. We don't mind, we just buy and we go. But we forget to understand that that market is only standing because of how everybody has come to patronize it. How we create that platform for them to thrive is what we should be looking at. Benefits of diversity still. Cultural sensitivity, insight, and local knowledge means higher quality of productivity. Again, we decided to study the National Youth Service Corps and how it affects us generally as a people. So whenever there's a good program that has been implemented through the National Youth Service Corps, which happens to be a multicultural activity, you find out that the people actually become even more productive. The fourth is drawing from cultural diverse talents pool would allow us as a country to attract and retain the best talents. That's a good example with the Yaba system. Right now in Yaba, you find a lot of young people trying very hard to express themselves. And what I've noticed running a hub in this same environment is that most of these people grow up to actually provide us with things we never really thought of. And that's because they've been given a chance to express themselves. By the way, I like to describe this whole area as the Yabacon Valley of Nigeria. So, again, more on benefits of our diversity. And if you go further, you'll see how this is a picture from Kano. This man is actually going through a leather processing process where hides and skin from animals are being processed in areas like this called Sharada. And the whole idea is to ensure that they get this leather dried up and then start seeking for international community to come and buy these things. But the problem is, most of this produce is half processed. And so what I mean by half processed, it's not gotten to the point when it will become very valuable to the point when your foreign exchange will become better. I expect that we'll pay attention to things like this and see how we can work with them. But my biggest problem is not just the hides and skin in Kano. When you go to the south, if you go to Abia State in Aba, where we visited with my team some months ago, you will find clusters of leather companies, leather processing companies, holding about 10,000 people in each cluster. And when you talk to them, where do you source for your leather? They tell you they import them. Sadly, here in Kano, you find this going on. I wonder why the governors can't talk to each other and see how they can strike businesses. So, for us to appreciate our diversity, we must review our comparative advantages. The one thing that makes us think that the man in Sokoto is parasitic, or the man in the West doesn't bring anything to the table, or the man in the East hasn't done anything to make Nigeria move forward, neither has the man in the Middle Belt done anything, is because we do not know what we have. We do not understand our potentialities and how we can use that to drive our economic stability. And so I'm going to be looking at those whole issues here. One, economic activities, cultural activities, religion as a major issue, education, media, infrastructure as it concerns roads, communication, railway lines, and many others, security, and again, data. This may take a bit long because I want us to see some of the things that we have in abundance. But we are not really feeling the impact of the fact that our country is blessed with so many things because we've not been able to focus and process the processes that will make this become foreign exchange earner for us. Foreign exchange earners for us. So this is onions. The onion plantation in Zaria and Kano is amazing. You wouldn't believe how much onions come out of Zaria and Kano every year to feed at least half of the world. But most of that gets perished before it moves from the farm to the transport system. From the transport system, as they're moving them from the north to the west, the vehicle capsizes because the road is bad and they lose even more, half of the package. At the end of the day, you get rotten onions to the base. What stops our government from focusing on processing plants and ensure that these onions are being processed or are being taken care of in such a way that they do not perish in that short time? We're blessed. This is sodium. When we went to Zaria some months ago, we found out that the famous Nestle and Cadbury actually focus on that factory they actually developed in Zaria. This factory in Zaria helps us to process the products that we use to achieve cornflakes, biscuits, chocolates, additives for chocolates and other things. And it just gets me thinking, when I'm here as a Yoruba boy and I'm thinking of how a fight's about to erupt in Zaria and I don't care, I'm actually saying that I'm prepared to go to the market tomorrow to buy cornflakes times 3 of the price. That is exactly what it means. This is cattle. Of course, the whole herdsman issue, nobody wants to eat meat anymore. That's not true. We still want to eat meat. But then we have to help the situation to start thinking. If herdsmen have always been there from time immemorial, how come they've all of a sudden become a disaster? What are we trying to do? Is it that our population is growing wider? Is it that the people are becoming more lawless? Is it that the insecurity is growing higher? We have to focus. We have to help the situation to get better. We do not have to condemn the situation all the time. So what I'm saying in essence with regards to things like this is, find alternatives. Find modern ways of actually ensuring that this line of business is sustained. So we can build ranches, we can adopt technological processes that can ensure that these people do not move around, but stay in one place and ensure that the cattle are properly fed. The only reason why they even move from the north to the south and back to the north is because of the difference in climate as the year runs through. Let's look at beans. We can't do without beans. Ewa, no way. Cocoa. You know, I was in Akure in May, and it's sad that Akure, Ondo State, has been made to become a civil service state, when this is supposed to be making them, you know, flaunt and act like some serious big boys. Sad. This is a quarry site in Kogi State. So the entire formation in Kogi has everything from limestone to marble to coal to clay to so much that you don't want to even begin to imagine. And so if Kogi State sits today and tells me we're struggling to pay salaries, then I'm really worried. This is a limestone quarry site. By the way, this is what provides the billions of naira the African's richest man has today. From cement, from this you get cement, from this you make your blocks, from this you put your infrastructure together, from this you build your roads. What is this? This is the port in Lagos. So when you look at different countries, some of them are landlocked countries. What does it mean to have a landlocked country? It means you are bounded by land, north, south, east, west. If you have to get anything from the ports, you have to liaise with another country to allow your things coming. We've been blessed. The entire bottom part of Nigeria has water that is accessible from any part of the world. So why are we not taking advantage of this? Next time you think Lagos, think about the potentiality, think about the strength the port brings to our country and how we misuse it. I've been so fascinated with Ugu in the last few months because I was in Port Harcourt and I noticed there was a huge pile of Ugu. It was piled upon each other. It could come up to like 2-story building. And I said, what is this? And they said, it's Ugu. Apparently, Ugu grows very well in that part of the country. But Ugu is not just a vegetable. No. Ugu has got some nice health value that we can start thinking of how to partner with top pharmaceutical companies and ensure that they make Nigeria the next stop for receiving Ugu juice that they can use as a supplement for our bodies. Nobody is thinking that. Instead, we bring all this Ugu to the top, to the side of the road. We try to sell them in 24 hours. When we don't do that, they get bad, they get dry, and we push them to the other side of the road and burn them. What a country. Coal. This is in Enugu. The coal mining is still there. I wonder what we're using them to do. I am just thinking, how can we focus? Why can't we in the southeast focus and see how we can ensure that this industry doesn't die? Oh yes, this is Niger State. This is a gold mining site. The entire formation here is a gold deposit. But I don't see anywhere where Nigeria is being labeled as a country that produces gold. What happens to our gold? Let me share this story with you very quickly. I was in Zamfara, and I was looking for a hotel to stay with my team. And we kept moving from one hotel to the other. All the hotels were fully booked. And I said, why are the hotels so booked? They said, there's one anyway, but it's really expensive. We don't know if you would want it. I said, well, right now I'm stressed, and I don't have options. Let's go check it out. So we went to the hotel, and when we got to the lobby, again, I saw a lot of people. And so we walked to the receptionist and we asked, do we have any room? And she said there was no room, they were fully booked. I said, in Zamfara? This is a state where nobody even wants to think about. But one thing I noticed in the lobby was that everywhere you turned, there was an expatriate. And so I said to our tour guide and I said, why do we have so many expatriates here? And he said to me, oh, they are miners. They come to mine for gold. But I've never seen Zamfara State present any information about how much gold deposit it has and how it has been exploiting or exploring it to ensure that it brings revenue for the state. Think, people, think. We're being robbed daily. This is in the Niger Delta. This is oil exploration going on. This is an oil field along the OML 112 where I used to work. Oh yes, this is leather. And we have to put our hands together for the Nigerian army. They are the one big entity that actually allows its soldiers to fully be supplied leather shoes from Aba. This is yam. So yeah, I accept that we should also concentrate on ensuring that we take out as many produce as possible for foreign exchange and all of that, but you cannot do that if you have not fed your people. If our people are hungry, you have no right to start selling the food that we produce. What you should be concentrating on right now is to ensure that you create processing plants that would ensure that when a farmer takes his produce from the farm, you can have a relationship with that farmer as the government or as a private entity and say, you know what, I've got processing plants. And say, you know what, I've got storage plants. All of what you have brought can be quantified to cost XYZ amount of money. We can collect it from you to process, we can collect it from you to store. It could be tomato, it could be vegetables, it could be yam, it could be whatever kind of crop that this farmer has produced. And so you quantify it and say, you know what, we're going to process this for you, and then we're going to put you on a monthly salary. And in that one moment, you have empowered this farmer all through the year. It is better that way than to leave him sell everything, and the next thing you know that he's thinking of marrying a second wife. Of course, he has to marry a second wife, he doesn't have any other activity. As most of us are rushing to go and buy televisions and radios and some nice gadgets, he doesn't know all of that. His best entertainment is another wife. So we need to start dissociating their minds from that. But the only way we can dissociate their minds from that is if we give them an option. Put them on a salary, pay them monthly, and ensure that every single thing that comes out from this farm gets to the people satisfactorily at a good price that can run from January to February. Not that I will go and buy 1 tuber of yam in July for 200 naira, and that same tuber of yam by December will be 1,200 naira. That's a disaster. So, our culture, which is something else we should look at very critically. I'm sure we all know what this is. New generation, do you know what this is? This is goro, this is kola. What do you call it in Yoruba? Any Igbos? Tell me, do you know where this is grown? Can anybody tell me where this is grown? Anymore? I really want to know. So, the truth is, this is grown in the western part of the country, but there is more of it in the northern part of the country. And you cannot do anything without it in the eastern part of the country. Really? I don't know what's our problem, really. I'm trying to understand why we don't like ourselves when we have come to realize that we can't do without ourselves. Think, people, think. And, sorry, I'm using this picture. It was the one I found very easily. So this is a couple from the northern part of the country getting married, but they're dressed as Yoruba people. This is what displaying our culture can do. We were all in this country where when a president from a different ethnicity that we've never been familiar with came on board, and we were also in South. If we portray our culture, not just us will buy it, people outside will buy it. We should appreciate every single thing that we've been blessed with. Yes, this is another serious part. Entertainment. So, many girls from the part of the country I come from are asked not to go out in the night. But recently, there have been some videos on Instagram when you see someone like Olamide going to perform, and you see my dear Hausa girls dancing to it very badly. You know, the point I'm trying to make is it's appreciated when they're enjoying it. But the moment they have to criticize the West, they forget the things in the West that they have embraced in the past. Let's push the things that give us strength forward. This one. Yes, we are devoted, but we practice religion politically for our selfish interest, because when practiced in peace and love, certain people will not benefit. And this, thank you. And this is a serious problem. What happens if we can actually go into religious centers and ensure that those who stand on the podium, those who have been privileged to stand on the podium, only speak about things that will create unity, peace, harmony, love, togetherness, prosperity, as opposed to looking for things that you can find in your neighbor that will default in. Those are Christian faith who's praying, and on the other side, normally Muslim faith who's praying. They are also devoted when they're doing it. But right after they leave here, they hit the streets, and somebody tries to cross the road. A pregnant woman carrying another baby, he doesn't stop. He runs. He doesn't care. She's not his wife. She's not his pregnant wife, and the child is not his. So he truly doesn't care. Education. Think about a child that schools in this kind of environment, and the one that schools in this kind of environment. And tell me if they will be the same in a few years from now. And tell me how they will appreciate the system in a few years from now. But what even frightens me the most about the educational system is it has really moved from public schools to entirely private systems, where you find schools standing on some values and saying, you know, we're a Muslim school, or no, we're a Christian school. Forgetting that when you teach the child in that line in 6 years, or they go through secondary school another 6 years, 12 years, they still come out to meet the real society, where everybody mixes with each other. What are we doing to ensure that we start accepting comparative religious studies, to ensure that we understand ourselves, so that when we get to the real world, we can embrace ourselves? Roads. If we can't connect with each other, we can't do anything. Trains. If we can't connect with each other, we can't do anything. Media and communication. Please, for all the media outlets here, I beg you, try and present the news in a way that you can ensure that we remain calm. I beg you. I understand the sensationality behind presenting the news that would excite the people, but can we for once try and be calm? When the news comes, do not rush to throw it out there. Make sure that once it goes out there, it's going to be for good and not for evil. Security. This cannot be overemphasized. Lagos is becoming very dangerous by the day. I know it's because of unemployment. So the direct reason for this is unemployment. When it's unemployment, there's a rise in insecurity. Data mining and collation. Everything I've talked about, whether we want to build a budget, whether we want to distribute food to the right, to the left, to the center, processing and all of that, no one will happen if we do not have a proper data mining and collation system. So, our common struggles as Nigerians: nepotism, hunger, insecurity, recession, darkness, of course, NEPA, poor educational standards, and ensure that this stops becoming our common reference point. Let our common reference point be a better life, better than this. So that when we come together in unity for a purpose, we can start demanding for accountability, transparency, efficiency, and good governance from our elected officials. That is what we have to do. That is what we have to use our unity to achieve. So in conclusion, in many ways, diversity is a major advantage to an industrialized society. The diversity provides labor, resources, and cultural vitality to first world countries that will otherwise be severely impacted by aging populations. However, this does not mean that diversity comes without difficulties. Among the most noticeable disadvantages of cultural diversity include language barriers, social tensions, and civic disengagements. It should be noted that these are not reasons to avoid diversity, but rather factors to keep in mind as society heads towards a more diverse future. And before I go, I'll leave you with my favorite quote, which says, "Hate is not the first enemy of love. It is fear, because it destroys your ability to trust." Thank you very much for your time. My name is Ahmed Buhari, and I will be running for the office of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in 2019. Thank you.